Good morning and welcome to Mahala Monday. Absolutely brilliant to be with you. My name is Dougal. Here is Rhoda. Hello.
Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome Dougal to Mahala
Yes.
Monday, you and me on a Monday.
Yeah, and not just any Monday.
Not just any Monday. What a special Monday it is today. I'm quite excited because of the fact that it is on a Monday.
It is. And you mentioned that to me. You mentioned to me, my goodness, I mean, that it is on a Monday. And the question is, what are we talking about? We'll get to that shortly. But, of course, you know what day it is, exactly what day it is. But more importantly, this is an interactive show, okay? So we're really looking forward to your contributions today because we're going to tell you exactly what we're going to do today. But today is, of course, Nelson Mandela Day. Yeah, that is the day that it is. And you mentioned this to me. You said to me, imagine it's like on Mahala Monday. It's like on the day we broadcast.
Exactly, and it's so exciting. And Dougal, I get very excited for birthdays. I'm a birthday celebrator. So whenever it comes to birthdays, I always get very excited and I tend to go overboard. So I'm quite excited. Today would have been Nelson Mandela's 104th birthday today.
Sure.
104.
Would have been. That's
wow.
That's a proper number. But it is something to get excited about because I want to get there. It's like when you have Christmas like on your favorite day. This is what it is about. This is really what it is about. And to an extent, because that is what we do here on Mahala Monday. That is what we do as part of For Humanity projects. This is what we do, trying to change the world for the better. So the exact essence that International Nelson Mandela Day is about is what we try and live by.
Live by. That is so true, Dougal. And that's exactly our foundation of For Humanity and for Nickay plus Mahala Monday. Just that whole collaboration of all of us together creating this. And you know, you always had this thing, you know, what can I do? How can I change the world? You know, you always had this thing, oh, I won't be able to do this one person on my own. And our team basically at the end of the day has created this platform to say, you know what, all the good stories is getting out there, you know, making a change.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. So that is what we're going to be talking about today, of course. What happened in a couple of years ago, 2009 was it? Around about there, the United Nations, you know, that big body, they declared International Nelson Mandela Day. And the essence of this day is to sort of really improve the life around you, for your community, in your town, but just to do well, to be kind, to come down to the bare essence of being human.
Exactly.
To come bare to just the bare essence of trying to contribute in a positive way. And normally 67 minutes is what is asked of you in order to make a positive and a productive contribution to the community.
And just for the people out there, because what we found out, Dougal and myself, and we were just posing a few questions within the team here, is the fact that some information got lost along the way. And just recapping a bit on what is Nelson Mandela Day, what is the 67 minutes. So I basically just wanted to say for the guys out there, obviously the new generation, even some of our generation that didn't actually know this, it was 67 years that Nelson Mandela fought for social justice and democracy. And this is where 67 is coming from. You know, for those that don't know what it's about.
So he did a year, you do a minute.
There we go. 67 years.
It's that simple. So 67. That is what you do. So whatever you did last year, do it again, what you did the year before. And it is one of those things that we always talk about. It shouldn't just be on the one thing. We should constantly have the sort of thing. But what we are going to do is, of course, we're going to take a journey. We're going to get to this point, because this is the point where we all work together, where color, creed, nationality doesn't matter. But the only thing that matters is getting together in the face of adversity, pulling together, combining resources, collaborating, and of course trying to overturn negatives into a positive. That is the only thing that matters, and that is where our conversation will end. Now, of course, as a citizen of Earth, you would have a story. You would have some impactful meaning, and what the great statesman meant to you as well. And we would like to hear that.
Almost definitely. If not, why not send us a pic even? Or you know what, just send us a message.
Yeah, it'd be great if you got a pic with him.
Oh yeah.
Do you have one?
No, I don't, Dougal. It's so sad.
So, before we actually get underway, I actually saw him. I never showed, and it was one of the biggest things. I always wanted to shake his hand, right? But it was too far from him, but I saw him twice. the closest maybe 20, 30 meters. Well, I say 20, 30 meters. It could have been
That's
6
a lot.
kilometers.
That's
But
close.
the thing is, it was quite far. And I saw him, and everybody was just coming out. And there was something
Exciting.
about him, Rhoda.
Oh, yeah.
There was something about him. And I saw him as a student in Rondebosch. And this is the story. He went into a stationery store to go buy a diary.
Oh, wow.
Paid with a 100 Rand note. And I know this because the cashier was my neighbor. So now, how's this? Okay, he walked in, he paid, and he told my friend Regan at the time, and he said to him, "This is the only money I get paid." And Regan laughed because Regan was just like, he says he wasn't sure to tell him, like, "Listen, no, it's okay, you don't have to pay, just take it." He wasn't sure. So he had, and you know what? And he was there, and there was 1 or 2 cars with him, obviously, because at the time he was the president, and the whole street was just mayhem because people knew where he was, and people like in the restaurants, people were leaving their food, they were running the car, everybody was just around, and this was basically at the advent of cell phones with cameras, so nobody had that. So I had to do this with my oor and just make a mental camera.
Mental camera.
May as it may, but that is what it was.
Oh,
but that is what our journey is. We're going to talk about that. We're going to reflect on some of the things that it was all about. But it is super, super important that to understand that what we're trying to achieve is improve the place for the better for all. And that is ultimately the essence. Religions preach it, and of course just common sense preaches that as well. So, where we start, Rhoda?
Yes, so we've got a few videos, and then we'll basically be reflecting, you know, from the beginnings up until, like Dougal said, when we end off the show, exactly where we're wanting to be and where we're at right now.
Yeah.
So we're going back in time, like we said. We're going to do a bit of time travel, going back a bit on history, just to recap again what some of our people out there, just what Nelson Mandela is basically all about and where it all started.
Yeah, so that is what we're going to do, and of course this will invoke some emotion and thoughts and reflections on your part, and we look forward to hearing from all of that. So, as we all know, of course, many years ago, and till this day, of course, we still feel the after effects, but there was the fact that he was born, of course, he came from the Eastern Cape and became a lawyer and all of that. And the political landscape in South Africa was something, you know, not for the faint-hearted, to be quite honest. And sadly, it was our reality as South Africans. And the big thing is, remember that trial?
Oh, yeah.
Remember that trial? Remember what happened after Lily's Leaf Farm? Remember all of that? Well, that's where we catch the story, because that was one of the catalyst moments in the South African history. Let's have a look.
South Africa, 1960, Sharpeville. A black township in the industrial area south of Johannesburg. A peaceful crowd gathered to protest against the pass laws was shot at by police. 69 people died. The nationalist government imposed martial law. All opposition was banned and thousands were jailed. When it became clear that all means of peaceful negotiation had been exhausted, Mandela went underground to lead the armed struggle.
We have made it very clear in our policy that South Africa is a country of many races. There is room for all the various races in this country. There are many people who feel that it is useless and futile for us to continue talking peace and non-violence against a government whose reply is only savage attacks on an unarmed and defenseless people.
Key government installations were targeted for sabotage. Mandela became known as the Black Pimpernel. In 1962, Mandela was captured, charged with leaving the country illegally, and sentenced to imprisonment for 5 years. Shortly afterwards, his ANC comrades were captured with evidence which incriminated Mandela. He returned to court for the Rivonia trial, where he and 8 others faced a possible death penalty.
The very speech which was made by Nelson consolidated the spirit of the people outside, because it was a defiant spirit.
I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the idea of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunity. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. But if need be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die.
When Nelson Mandela and several of his colleagues were sentenced to life imprisonment in 1964, the political convicts were sent to Robben Island, the bleak island prison off the Western Cape Coast. Nelson Mandela was 45 years old when he became prisoner number 466 of 1964. He would be in his early 70s before he would again be a free man. Forced to perform futile hard labor in a lime quarry, the prisoners refused to be broken. Far from being diminished, Mandela's moral leadership and stature continued to grow while he was in prison.
Sure.
History.
Sure.
Just a little bit of history and recap. And you know what, Dougal? Just where it all started. And if you think of it, 45 years old, and I mean, I don't want to give your age away, but if you really think of it, it's basically your age, you know, that you had gone. This is the prime of your life. You're a lawyer. You know what? This is basically where you're kind of peaking in your life. You know?
It is, and to be there for that long.
Exactly.
You know, it's
it's quite long.
It is a thing. But it is, do you know what? Oh, I mean, the footage, the images, the stuff we've seen, we are familiar with that.
Very familiar with that.
To an extent, but it is important to sort of put it into context.
And just reflect. Because I think this is where we tend to go wrong sometimes. We tend to forget where we've come from. And a lot of people don't like talking about where we've come from. But if we look at our generations, and I'm not wanting to give my age away as well. I
give away.
Don't look at my grey. But we came out of that apartheid. We lived portion of it. Our parents obviously lived even a bigger portion of when it had all started. And we, at that point of my life, was at school where we had to hide under the desk. They came in with the guns. We experienced that apartheid, and not being given opportunities to say that we couldn't go to the schools we wanted to. We couldn't become what we wanted to. We couldn't be a pilot. And I mean, we had this discussion on one of our shows as well. Opportunities wasn't there. And then obviously your generation was the next generation, and obviously experienced it a little bit different. And for me, that's change is happening.
It is a bit of a development, isn't it?
Exactly.
Given the times. I mean, during those times, I got to be honest with you, when I was, and I have a fond memory, and also of like, not to be personal, but you know, like of things with what my family was doing at the time. So we knew, but I mean, I only saw pictures of Madiba, mid-80s. That was like that was the thing. And I remember conversations of communications that, because there were letters coming, there was messages coming, whoever visited. I remember these sort of stories. But I just never saw the person. And I remember actually one day when I saw, oh, is this? Like it was like, but then it was one of the pictures of the trial, you know, like, oh, is this what the person, I had just no idea. I thought it was this big, mighty man because, you know, this is just muscular, you know, and I was a child at the time. Because that was the image that was certainly fragile. But I mean, those were dark times. And even then, social justice, believing in the ideal that there's a space for all of us, and we should be good with all of us, and we should be benevolent to the next man, was the essence of everything.
Or was the essence of everything, Dougal, that opportunities were there, and with the freeing of Nelson Mandela and what he stood for all those years, actually seeing it developing and looking at it now, and a lot of people living in gloom and doom, and they're not happy with our circumstances in our life right now. But if we really look at our generations of changes, opportunities that has been created, because he keeps on talking about the opportunities, and you know what, in that speech where he says, you know, he stands up for free with basically no matter if you're white or black. He did not say even just the white people, he said black as well. So it's for everybody to say we must never go back to that oppression, never back to that times of not opportunities. And I can tell you today that I'm seeing all these opportunities, and with Mahala Monday, we've created some of the opportunities to be able to say, look here, silver platters, things has changed, opportunities are out there, you know, which was not there back in the day.
Yeah, but we're gonna get back to that, because do you know what I mean? Because you touched on something which is with that generational gap.
Yeah.
Because at the time you couldn't do things.
No.
Did you? Let me ask you this, because I was around about 9 years old when I realized something wasn't right with me. No. I realized I couldn't do things that I thought was appropriate for me to do. And I was about 9 or 10 when I really realized that. Because you don't really know anything at 6 or 7, you know. Your parents tell you, stand there, sit there, do this, and you do that. But I was about 9 or 10, and I distinctly remember this, because there was always these things you saw in magazines, and then I would say, but let's do this. And my dad, no, we couldn't.
Exactly.
And then there was places you could, no, we couldn't. I remember something was wrong with me at 9 or 10. I didn't know what. When I found out what apartheid was, I was angry.
Exactly.
Because I took it personal.
It is, definitely. Yeah. And for me, for me, that point was obviously being at home, having to be separated from the rest of the world, really, and not having those opportunities. I experienced that when I was 18 years old, where I went out to go study. I actually basically then went to an institution to study. And that was the very first time, Dougal, and this probably sounds funny to a lot of people, I've ever seen a white person. I've actually had contact with a white person, and my age. And I looked at them and I'm like, but you know better than me. We're in the same class, we're doing the same course.
Learning the same things.
Exactly, the same
Learning
thing.
the same things.
And you know, I always had this idea that somehow if you stabbed a white person, they will bleed a different color. But obviously realizing, but we're all the same, we're sitting under, it wasn't, I'm telling you, it was a shock to my system. It was something I actually had to grasp and kind of deal with and realize, but you're no different to me. And this is where I started feeling the changes as well.
Yeah, look, I mean, blood is blood, sweat is sweat. I mean, I remember my father at the time, and, you know, not to give too much away, but, you know, he was a sportsman at the time. Now, like so many people, there wasn't that many opportunities depending on the color of your skin, obviously, as we all know. And you couldn't do the certain things that he could. But we're talking at least level at the time. I mean, this was now the best in the country, really. And he had to compete against somebody else, which was staged. It happened unofficially in the cloak of darkness, and people had to pull in with their cars and make light, and it was an all sort of thing, and it was arranged by the administrators of the time, which happened to my grandfather, actually. And my father and this other man, they raced. And they did it, and my dad won. But the strangest thing, but the strangest thing is, although the thing was shrouded and it happened on the big background of the political differences, and for everybody, it was a white and a black thing. You know, that was the narrative. When I've had this conversation with my father so many times. Yeah, that was there because that was the milieu, that was the setting.
That was the setting.
For him, that didn't matter. He was a sportsman. For the other dude of the other kind, it didn't matter because he was a sportsman. That was the language they spoke.
Yeah.
That was the unifying thing because they could relate to one another. That only they could, because they understood the impact, the effort, they understood that.
Exactly.
And they had a blossoming relationship, you know, after that. So, and it's just now going back to the whole thing of like the sport unifies and all of that, you know, bringing together. But that was the thing. And I was just thinking about it now because of what you said, the blood was different. No, sweat is all the same, man.
Sweat is all the same.
But anyway, so just moving on to our story, of course. So then, yes, the incarceration happened. And the other thing is as well that we were talking about actually off air. So obviously the number 46664 was significant with the concerts and all of that.
Exactly.
But that was because of the prison number. Because the number was 466 and the last part is the year of incarceration, obviously.
Yeah.
And that is the number. What a nice number. 46664. I quite like the number. And the number is significant. And it is a number that will be etched into the history of man forever. And that is
Exactly.
usually the significance. Then onwards to almost 3 decades later from that point, of course, 1990. I remember this day, almost the middle of Feb. It was a Sunday. And then the release from what is now known as Drakensberg Correctional Facility. At the time, it was the Victor Verster prison, the release. Now, it is quite significant because you spoke about this, but first, let's watch this.
Yeah.
Let's watch this. Let's watch this.
In 1990, at the age of 71, Mandela was released unconditionally.
I stand here before you not as a prophet, but as a humble servant of you, the people. I place the remaining years of my life in your hands.
So yeah, that was it. That was it. I remember 2 things from that day.
Oh,
I remember 2 things from that day. I remember now President Cyril Ramaphosa standing there with a mic,
Yes.
all bearded up, you saw him there.
And
Hey, CR, man. And I remember the Cressida. And I remember that, and I remember apparently Madiba ended up having tea at somebody's house. I've heard
That's
the
right.
story a couple of times as well.
That's right.
During all of this, so they almost lost him. So to put it down the different way. But I've heard all of that. But that is the development
Oh,
that
wow.
you spoke about.
Oh, yeah.
1990, there was something in the air. I remember this very
wow.
clearly. I was grade 7 at the time, standard 5 as we called it, and there was like a thing. Every school, every church had a TV there.
Oh,
People, we were all in
yeah.
community halls. I was watching this with like 160 gazillion people.
Mm-hmm.
We were watching this. Everybody, there were people crying. There were
I
tears.
was one of them.
It was an emotional moment. It was Christmas Square. I'm not going to lie to you.
it was.
This was the significant, and I remember the Sunday. I think it was meant to come out at 3 o'clock and then came out a little bit later.
Yeah.
But that was all of a sudden we saw changes.
There was changes. And you know what? Just having to come obviously from a struggle. And for me, it was so beautiful. And this is what was emotional for me, because he gave up his life for our freedom, to be able to have choices in our life. For me to go to that college and actually have my counterparts, or basically not seeing that there is no color at the end of the day. And this is what he was in prison for, standing up for rights of our people. And this is why, for me, was such an emotional day, Dougal. It really, till today, I still get goosebumps seeing that video, because of the fact that I am so proud to be a South African and African as such, to be able to say that the world is
I
recognizing
was going to ask you that.
Nelson Mandela, the world.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that because at that time, I mean, at that time there were significant moments
Oh, yeah.
internationally. Berlin Wall,
Exactly,
the
same
release
time.
of Madiba. So this
Same
was a certain time on the planet, if I can put it that
It
way.
changed
But
and
we
it
were on the
changed.
forefront when that happened.
Oh yeah, we were on the forefront. We had Nelson Mandela telling us, you know
I mean,
what?
This was it.
Yeah,
Do
definitely.
you, and what I was going to ask you, it was easy, wasn't it, to get swept into this whole thing? It was easy because we all believed it.
We all believe
And
it,
we still
Dougal.
do.
We still do. Till today, I still believe in having to treat your fellow man equally. There is no difference on the color of your skin,
Yeah.
no matter where you're from. We need to be treating each other equally and respecting each other. You know what I'm saying?
Now, let me get-
And this is why I think that fight and the struggle was real, because we needed change. We needed basically to make a change and say everybody must have fair and equal opportunities.
And this is it, because then basically, I mean, schools opened shortly after that.
Oh yeah.
I was one of the people that went to, between that and, because 1992 it was the case, I was one of those people that had that opportunity to go to what was now
Exactly.
Model C schools at the time, multiracial, whatever. But I had those opportunities. Those sort of, whatever you want to call it, group areas or whatever, those
taken
things
away.
kind of
Yeah.
faded away. There was change. There was change. At the time,
That was my year
at
of
the time, I
matriculation.
mean, it was easy for us to be swept up. But as soon as you made those interracial connections, which happened, there was a bit of a misunderstanding because there was fear, which
there
is,
was a lot of
and
fear.
let's be honest,
Lots of fear.
let's be honest, fear doesn't constitute racism.
Exactly.
Fear, it doesn't constitute that. When you don't know something, you don't know. It is human nature
It's
to be a bit,
human nature.
okay, wait a minute, right? But then once you make the link, once you've established it, then you're like, but now what the hell was all this blah, blah, blah,
All
about?
Exactly.
And this was really it. So I remember there was like a lot of, especially like at schools and things like that with communities.
yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you something now which hurt me. Because at the time I went, and I've never told you this, I went to, as I said, I went to a, but I was also told I was a traitor. So I was shunned more by my own people because I was now anti-movement. So it had both ways.
Yeah.
So now I was sent into the face of the enemy at the time, and just for the lack of a term here, sent there going, what the? I was a child. I was an idiot. I was a child. I was sent there and I was told the people that I trusted I'm being a traitor. Now I went there. Those people were confused. They were fearful. In my defenses, I probably didn't look what they thought I would look like. So they probably didn't even know. So that was in my defense. So for them, it was like, well, what the hell is the story?
Exactly.
Now, this almost in a way, because I was shunned here, I was forced to make efforts here. But then the strangest thing happened. Those friends became better friends with these people over time. And for
Over
us as
time.
children at the time, and I'm talking about rural areas, I'm not talking because I didn't grow up in the city. We grew up in a farming community.
Yeah.
And all my friends at school, everybody would attest to that. It was a bit different. For us, I always felt, for people in the rural communities, because remember, if you were a farmer, your laborers, whoever it is, you integrated anyway.
Exactly.
So
Was the
for us,
flavor.
it happened very, very quickly. It was all these other talk or whatever that sort of, you had to take stock of where the national narrative was. But this wasn't the case. All you saw was people, all you saw was making connections. You either like somebody or you didn't. It was
exactly.
very basic. It's the same way you fall in love. You either do or you don't. There's nothing in between.
And you know what, Dougal, for me, obviously coming also from a generation of having to have that separation, when my kids went to school, obviously also then having to go to a Model C school and their friends, for me it was, I'm telling you, pure bliss, happiness, just seeing them interacting and not even mentioning or talking about color or race at the end of it. It was just this in my body. And you know what, our time back in the day, that couldn't be your body. And now you're seeing this happening and it was so beautiful. And I mean, I lived in Johannesburg, you know, the time when my son had started basically being in matric. And just that exposure, the cosmopolitan, you know, it was beautiful. And it was just for me of that generation overwhelming and saying, you know what, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling positive about where we're going and where we're heading.
And you said you weren't going to give age away.
I was.
So, 1994, it all changes, of course, with the inauguration. Boy, there was a spirit. There was a sense of invincibility, which there still is today. Let's be honest, we still have it. But yeah, 1994, you remember that, right?
Never, never, and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another.
Yeah, so there was a certain sense of positivity and all of that. We were embracing and people were hopping together.
Exactly.
And that was
Dougal,
94.
can I tell you? I mean, if you look...
How many years is that? Well, like almost 30 years now.
It, yes.
Is it?
Yo, don't give our age away. You know what, Dougal, and this is what makes me so excited. And I mean, if you look at our so-called first world countries, we basically had the first black president. I mean, look at America. They only had their black president how long afterwards? And I mean, look at what we've done. Look at the changes. That makes me so excited just seeing that. It just makes my blood so excited. And you know what? If I look at our constitution at the end of the day, it has really been basically printed to say, you know what, we need to make changes. We're not going to go back in time, because a lot of countries that we've noticed some of things are going back in time. We said, no, we need to go forward.
And
we
it's
need to make
progressive.
changes.
Our constitution is exceptionally progressive. We've taken the best bits of every other constitution there is and just improved on it.
Exactly.
And, you know, it's like a young constitution as well, if you look at it that way. So, I mean, it's truly outstanding. I mean, Rhoda, that was it. I mean, if you look... And you gotta take stock of the whole history, the influence of Madiba, not just obviously in South Africa, but you gotta look at it from a global perspective as well. Where we were as a country, we were in the abyss. It was dire. It was, we all know that.
Yeah.
This man took himself, and as so many others did, sacrifice all of that, and conscientious leader. Right, got us to a place that they were, and I'm sure he had many fallouts, even with his closest supporters or whatever, because this is not an easy thing. So whatever is said is said. But the thing is that now we're in this beautiful place, and now it's up to us.
It's up to us.
It's up to us.
Most definitely.
Between 94 and now, it's a couple of years. And in 2009, the UN says it's International Nelson Mandela Day, which is today, which would have been his birthday. Yes. And this is a day that and remember, this is not just happening here. This is happening people in Alaska are doing this, people in Greenland, China,
everywhere.
Another country, Norway, there we go, Chile.
It's happening
Spicy
everywhere.
Country.
International.
It happens everywhere. People are doing something to their community where they help. And they just being the essence of human. And that is really the bit that it comes down to. Let me ask you this. Do you think we've regressed? Yes or no? You don't have to explain. I'll put you on the spot.
You definitely put me on the spot.
Do you think we have?
No,
the viewer. Do you think we have?
Oh, okay.
If you think we have, then you need to do 67 minutes every day.
Every day.
If you don't, you think, no, we've made this, then you still do 67 minutes every day because you've got to maintain the status quo.
Exactly.
The point is, I sometimes think we've lost a little bit, but we've made gains.
We've made gains, Dougal. Yeah.
But then we foolish, you know, but we're making gains. We're still on the right trajectory, aren't we?
I would say we definitely are. And you know what? There's a lot happening in our country. There's a lot of things happening. But I think the human nature, the human person still stands out and saying, you know what? We need to make those changes. And this is why we're celebrating even today, Nelson Mandela's International Day, is to say that we as mankind can make a difference. Even though through this gloom and doom of what's happening now, and we know the political side of all of this that's happening in our lives, but we need to make that change, and we need to say, let's take this forward. There's no use looking back and going back, because, you know, we always thought, don't look back, because you don't want to look back, you need to look in the head of you, you know. So.
And quite recently we've seen that people are doing amazing things. We're still basically in the effects of a pandemic. We all know how COVID was. We saw people pull together. When we can pull together, we can pull together, baby.
Exactly.
That is what I'm saying. When we can pull together, we can pull together. And this is it. So it doesn't matter where you are, wherever. When the struggle is real, the struggle is real. Yeah. We all know that. It doesn't matter where you are standing on the fence, where you are. The one thing we have in common, we are humans. The one thing
human.
We breathe the same air. We feel pain the same way. We are emotional in the same way.
And I think
this is it. And the last thing you got to do is see people suffer, because you don't want to suffer.
Exactly.
But if you're in a position to help make a difference, it is your responsibility. It is no longer a case of, oh, that's nice. No, nice is gone.
Nice is gone.
It is your responsibility. There's a big difference. There's an absolutely big difference. No longer will I sit kindly by where people go, oh, no, that's very nice of you, Rhoda. No, it's not nice of Rhoda. Nice is gone. Nice is no longer. It's your responsibility. And if you
Exactly.
don't do it, if you don't act in the interest of people, yes, all you politicians, if you don't act in the interest of the greater good, you have no space in the room.
In the room.
If you cannot drive the greater good forward, sit down, keep quiet. Don't make suggestions to people who know what they're doing.
Exactly.
That's what you do.
Exactly.
It is no longer a little thing. The Nelson Mandela Day is an international day where we try to be human and to the less fortunate and try and do as well as we can.
Exactly.
And every day we should do that.
Every day we should do that.
I've said enough.
Yeah. Dougal had quite a bit to say there. And you know what? We as the generation needs to show the new generation how it's done. And I know for a fact, I know a lot of us, our politicians has let us down, a lot of politicians has let us down, but we as ourselves need to make a difference. We need to make a change. We need to be example to our kids to say, you know what?
Yeah.
And for me, Dougal, you know what Nelson Mandela Day means to me? It's really reflecting back on where we've come from and not to forget what he said, opportunity for everybody, irrelevant of the color of your skin. And this is what it is. And this is what we need to teach and basically for the new generation to tell them that, you know what, we need to make a change. Remember what Nelson Mandela said. He is an international icon. He's recognized by everybody. We need to make that change. And don't depend on government because we've known that they've disappointed us many times. And at the end of the day, we need to make a change. And I mean, everybody know at the end of the day, I'm a rugby fan. Soos hulle altyd sê, my bloed is groen, my blood is green. So, and this is for me also where a lot of changes happened. And you know what, we as South Africans should be proud of where we're at because our team is so diverse. I mean, I'm not even going to mention names. I just get extremely excited. And this is exactly how I see and foresee our country changing. And looking at our nation, looking at our people, and just being this diverse community of people pushing our country forward and all having green blood because we're all South Africans.
And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Well, you know what? It is today is International Nelson Mandela Day. For us, it is Nelson Mandela Day. And when it comes to making a difference in your community, however large, however small, the world has got their eyes focused on us. Regardless of our baggage, regardless of what happened yesterday and last week and last month and where we are going, the world is looking at us to go, this is how you share, this is how you care. And we've proven this time and time again. When people come together, man, we move mountains. Long may we continue to move mountains.
Definitely.
And please make those important differences that you do. Thank you for listening to Rhoda and I, and for us sharing stories and just reflecting on various things, of course. And this should have been a longer show.
It should have
but
been.
also the videos that we watched, we just want to say thank you very much, of course, and you'll find the links for all of those. We will still find the links for all of those videos you will find, of course, at the bottom. And it was all taken from the Nelson Mandela Foundation. But we've got one more to go.
That's right.
And that's where we're going to play out.
This one. Yeah.
And in the meantime, we will say toodles.
Yeah. See you and enjoy your Mandela Day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Nelson Mandela has continued to give his support and generosity in countless ways, creating an enduring legacy through the Nelson Mandela Foundation, the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund, the Mandela Rhodes Foundation, the Nelson Mandela Institute for Education and Rural Development, and the 46664 campaign. Through 46664, he continues to lend the full force of his extraordinary talent, intellect, and heart to a problem that faces not only his own country, but the world at large. Nelson Mandela, Madiba, we salute you.